It is election season. Voters are going to have some pretty big decisions to make in a matter of months. And there's a major focus on how to protect political candidates and their campaigns from hackers.
Atlanta News First's Rebecca Schramm is live this morning in Midtown. Rebecca, Google is hosting a cybersecurity summit here in Atlanta today.
That's right, Gravere and Brooks, good morning to you. Yeah, think about all the political campaigns that are about to pop up. We're talking about everything from school board to local, state, and federal offices. Well, all of those campaigns are going to have digital components, and there will likely be people who want to hack them. Well, that is the subject matter at a summit that's going to be hosted here at Atlanta's Google building on West Peachtree Street. It is a cybersecurity summit that they're calling Protecting High-Risk Users. It's hosted by Google and a group called Defending Digital Campaigns, which touts itself as a nonpartisan, non-aligned nonprofit that provides free cybersecurity resources to U.S. political candidates. The summit is going to feature insights from industry experts on the threats and vulnerabilities that political campaigns face. It all comes as the Georgia Senate just yesterday advanced a bill that would criminalize using deep-fake computer-generated versions of politicians to deceive voters. So we're going to be watching to see if that bill gets final passage. The summit begins at 8:30 this morning. We're going to listen in, and we will have updates for you throughout the day. Live in Midtown, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.